Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never thought the day would come when Megan would look at me and say words sharp enough to cut through the years we had built together. I had been married to her for 12 years, and in all that time, I had never doubted our life, even when it got messy, even when bills piled up, even when her patience with me sometimes frayed. But that Thursday evening changed everything. I was sitting at the kitchen counter, reviewing the latest credit card statements, my coffee cold and forgotten beside me. Megan walked in from work, her heels clicking sharply against the hardwood, a sound I had once found thrilling, now only warning me of impending storm. She threw her coat on the chair and glared at me. Her eyes weren't angry. Not exactly. They were cold, detached, like she was looking at a stranger. "Jason," she said, her voice clipped, almost theatrical in its precision, "none of my 4 lips belong to you anymore." The words hit me like a fist. I blinked, unsure if I had heard her correctly. None of my 4 lips belong to me or to you. The phrasing was bizarre, almost mocking, but the intent behind it was crystal clear. She meant what she said. And in that moment, I realized something I had been refusing to admit for months. She had stopped loving me, or maybe she had never really. I set the statements aside, took a deep breath, and tried to find the calm that had carried me through arguments, late nights, and heartbreaks. "Then face your debts alone," I said evenly, the words tasting bitter but liberating on my tongue. Megan froze, her jaw tightening, eyes narrowing. I had expected a fight, perhaps tears, or even a scream. Instead, she laughed, a sharp, humorless sound that made my skin crawl. "You think this is about money?" she spat, leaning against the counter so abruptly I thought she might collapse. "This is about freedom, Jason. About me finally living my life without feeling trapped, without you holding me back." I let her words sink in. Trapped, holding her back. Those were the words that fueled me to finally see the truth in the quiet moments I had been ignoring. The avoidance of my touch, the cold shoulder when I reached for her, the endless evenings she spent scrolling through her phone while I cooked and cleaned and tried, as I always did, to show her love. The tension in the room was so thick it felt like it could be sliced with a knife. I took a seat at the table, keeping my voice low, calm, deliberate. "Megan, I've been supporting this house, this family, everything for years. If that's what freedom looks like to you, then you can face it alone." Her lips curled in disdain. "Everything? You mean you've been paying for my life while pretending we're equal? While pretending you matter?" She paused, letting the accusation hang. "You've been the bank, Jason. Nothing more. And now I'm done pretending." The house felt colder suddenly. The walls, the furniture, even the lights seemed complicit in her betrayal. I tried not to let anger take over. I had learned long ago that fury in these moments rarely helped. Instead, I focused on clarity. If she wanted out, if she wanted to sever every emotional tie and keep only the material conveniences, I would let her. I would let her see the consequences. Megan's eyes narrowed again, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face, quickly masked by disdain. She didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't cry. She only stood there waiting, as if I was supposed to break first. But I had already broken in silence years ago. Now, I simply existed, immovable, grounded by the stark reality she had chosen. I reached for the stack of overdue bills and credit statements, scanning them once more. Every phone bill, every mortgage payment, every subscription she enjoyed without question. These were my terms. I would stop paying for them. The thought made a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't cruel. It was simple acknowledgement. She had chosen to live detached from me emotionally. Now she would be responsible for the life she insisted on. Megan stepped closer, her perfume filling the room like an accusation. "You think you're clever, Jason? You think cutting me off will change anything?" she hissed. I shook my head slowly. "I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just accepting it. You've made your choice. And now, you deal with the consequences. Alone." For a moment, silence reigned. Then she turned abruptly, storming toward the living room. I heard the clatter of her heels, the sharp intake of breath as she slumped into the sofa. She picked up her phone, typing furiously, likely messages to friends, family, whoever might validate her anger and disbelief. But I didn't care anymore. My eyes wandered to the window, the fading sunset casting long shadows across the floor, and for the first time in months, I felt the weight on my chest lighten. Yet, I knew this was only the beginning. Megan had no idea how far I would go to reclaim my life, or how the next days would unfold. The tension of impending confrontation, the legal entanglements, the storm of emotions yet to come, it hung in the air like a live wire. I poured myself a new cup of coffee, black, strong, grounding. I didn't look back. I didn't plead. I didn't negotiate. She had made her choice. Now it was time for me to navigate the fallout. And trust me, fallout had a way of revealing everything that had been hidden. The first night she slept in the guest room, I felt a quiet thrill mixed with unease. She was gone, but not defeated. The house echoed with the absence of shared laughter, familiar arguments, and even trivial disagreements. But within that echo, a new clarity emerged. I had no reason to beg, no reason to explain, no reason to bend. She had drawn her line. I would let her live with it. And in that quiet, the storm was already brewing. The next morning, I woke to an eerie silence. Megan's side of the bed was cold, the sheets untouched. The house felt larger, emptier, and yet more mine than it had in years. I didn't rush. I poured another cup of coffee and sat at the kitchen table, reviewing the bank accounts, the auto payments, and the credit cards. Every line told the same story. I was finally untangling the years of financial and emotional weight I had carried alone. A sharp knock on the front door jolted me. I wasn't expecting anyone. I peeked through the blinds and saw Megan standing there, arms crossed, lips pressed into a tight line. Behind her, the late winter sun reflected off her dark coat, giving her the appearance of someone bracing for battle. "You've canceled everything?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly despite the bravado she'd shown the night before. "I did," I said evenly, keeping my tone calm, almost clinical. "All payments, all shared accounts. Everything you insisted I cover while pretending we were equals. You wanted independence? Here it is." Her eyes widened, and for a second, I saw the crack in the armor she had spent years perfecting. Then she smiled, a cold, calculating smile. "You think you won something?" "I'm not winning or losing anything," I replied. "I'm just letting reality exist as it is. You made your choice. Now you face it." Megan's phone buzzed. She ignored it. Then she muttered, "You'll regret this." But I could tell from the way her voice wavered. She was beginning to realize the gravity of what she had done. She stormed inside and slumped into the living room, throwing her phone onto the couch. I followed, calmly sitting opposite her. "Do you understand what this means?" I asked. "The mortgage, the bills, the lifestyle you assumed would continue effortlessly. All of it stops today unless you manage it yourself." She scoffed, but it was hollow. "You're impossible," she muttered. "No," I said, meeting her gaze. "I'm done being your bank, your caretaker, and the man you pretend to love. That was my choice. But you chose this. And you chose to make it public, cold, and final. That's on you." Megan ran her hands through her hair, frustration radiating in every movement. Then she leaned back, her expression darkening, plotting perhaps. "You think you can just walk away emotionally and financially? I'll make sure you regret it." I laughed softly. "Megan, all I've done is follow the path you drew. You cut off affection. You cut off connection. You severed intimacy. Now you've cut off the financial support too. You set the rules. I'm just abiding by them." She paused. For a moment, silence filled the room. It was a kind of silence that presses against your skull and makes every heartbeat loud. Then, suddenly, she lunged toward the table, slamming her palms down. "I don't care about the money. I care about control." "Control?" I asked. "You already lost at the moment you walked away from us. You walked out emotionally, and now you'll walk out financially if you can't handle it. That's the only control left, your own choices, and I'm letting you experience them fully. The storm inside her eyes mirrored the one I had felt months ago when small rejections piled up into unbearable silence. She had underestimated me, underestimated my patience, my restraint, my willingness to let her actions speak louder than words. And now, she was learning the hard way that consequences are inevitable. Hours passed. Megan made calls, texted friends, and even tried logging into accounts I had blocked, but every attempt ended in frustration. I watched quietly, noting each moment with a detached satisfaction. It wasn't cruelty. It was justice in its purest form, calm, methodical, unyielding. By evening, Megan slumped onto the sofa, exhausted. Her carefully maintained composure was gone, replaced by raw frustration and disbelief. "I can't believe you did this," she whispered. "I can," I said, "because you made me. I'm not the villain here, Megan. I'm the man who finally stopped pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. I gave years of loyalty, love, and presence. I didn't walk away because I stopped caring. I walked away because you stopped. And now, you face your own choices alone." She looked at me then, really looked, and something in her expression shifted. It wasn't regret, yet not fully. It was disbelief, maybe even shock. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. For the first time, I saw fear, not of me, but a reality. The next morning, Megan left the house with her coat tightly wrapped around her shoulders, her purse clutched like a shield. I didn't follow. I didn't call. I simply watched from the window as she drove away, the tires crunching on the gravel, leaving a trail of dust that mirrored the residue of the life she had burned to assert freedom. And in that moment, I felt something strange, relief, clarity, and even a bitter thrill. The house was quiet, the weight of years lifted, and I finally understood the power of stillness, patience, and decisive action. Megan had chosen to sever us in every way. She wanted independence. She wanted freedom. She wanted control. And now she had it. But she would learn that freedom without responsibility is a lonely, harsh, and expensive place. As the sun set over suburban street, I poured myself a glass of whiskey, feeling the sharp taste like a promise of new beginnings. I had faced a storm, and I had come through unbroken. Megan's fury, her disdain, her threats, they were powerless against the calm clarity of someone who refused to be manipulated any longer. And somewhere deep inside, I smiled. For the first time in over a decade, I felt untouchable, unshakable, and entirely free.